everyone, today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the Sceptre C345 Ultrawide Curved Gaming Monitor. I did receive this sample from Sceptre directly, but I want you to know that any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this gaming monitor or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Take a look at the retail box and packaging. Everything looks great. We can learn more on the sides about what's included in the box. The back has the same tech specs that you're seeing from the front. You'll also see on this side we have our nice input and output options here on the monitor displayed for you. And then let's go over some of the quick tech specs. So 34 inches, 3440 by 1440p for the resolution, 165 hertz for the refresh rate. This has a 1 millisecond MPRT response time, and they advertise a 99% sRGB color gamut. We'll be sure to check that out and see if we can verify that ourselves. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and see what's in the box. Here are all the contents besides the monitor itself. We'll look at that in just a minute. We have our pieces of product literature. This does come with a 1-year warranty, customer service and contact information, and a full user guide and manual that walks us through everything we need to know about our brand new monitor. Nice menu settings as well too. They spend a lot of time covering that. Couple of quick things to point out. First one is supported resolution with DisplayPort. You can get 1440p up to 165 hertz. With HDMI, you're going to get 1440p at up to 100 hertz. We have our tech specs and troubleshooting information there. Next, you'll see with all Sceptre monitors comes this lovely Sceptre Phillips head screwdriver. 3 kits of screws, base screw, wall mount screws, neck screws. We have 1 DisplayPort cable here. Power supply. We have our wall mount adapter. This is VESA 75 by 75 millimeters. And then we have our stand, metal construction. It comes in 2 pieces. Now let's go ahead, let's look at the monitor. Here's a look at the back side of the monitor. You'll see the Sceptre logo and branding front and center. We also have 2 LED lights. We have our mounting connection option here. You'll see down at the bottom we got our speaker grills, Kensington security lock, additional product info, and we have all of our ports. So let's tip that up. You'll see our ports right here. Everything's color coded for us. We have our power plug, 2 HDMI ports, 2 display ports, and our audio port right there. Moving right along to the very bottom, you'll see we have 1 center control button to power on and navigate and use our monitor's menu settings. Let's flip it up to the very top. You'll see that nice curvature right here to get a feel for how that's gonna look. And then I'll try to show you a side profile as well. There's the curvature again. And now we'll look at the very front of the monitor. You'll see we have our protective film on it. We'll have to remove before use. Sceptre logo and branding down at the bottom, as well as our HDMI and DisplayPort stickers there. Now let's go ahead, let's try it out. All right, the monitor's all set up. You'll see on the stand that we have, it's at a fixed height, but you can adjust the tilt down a little bit and you can tilt it back or anywhere in between there. And then you'll see we have no rotation side to side, just tilt. You'll also notice with our PC connected, we are getting the specs as advertised, 3440 by 1440p at up to 165 hertz. That's with our DisplayPort connection. Now let's go over the menu settings. To access the menu, just gonna go ahead, you can press the power button and we have all of our different options here. So to our left, we have our sources. To our right, we're going to have our different image presets. We press it again. Up top, we have our volume. And let's go back, and then we can press the button again, and that'll bring up the full menu here where you're seeing our different specs, our resolution, refresh rate, AMD's off. So, quick start settings. You get the idea what we're able to change here. I'm not going to go through each individual option, but I just wanted to show you the menu. They do a really good job with their user guide, going over all the individual settings for you. Take a look at that. You can see the options that we have here. Further down, we have our colors, blue light. Then we have our system settings. We can turn overdrive on or off, FreeSync, HDR. We have our RGB lights on the back. but everything neatly and nicely organized right here on their menu. This monitor is equipped with picture-in-picture and picture-by-picture, so you'll see we have our picture-in-picture mode set up here, Xbox Series X in the background, and our Windows PC up in the corner, and we can move this box around if we want. And then now you're looking at the picture-by-picture where we have our two inputs right here, HDMI and our DisplayPort side by side, Xbox, PC. Now I wanted to look at a couple of those picture settings and how they're each going to change the image quality. So we're on standard, then we have user, then you'll see movie, eco, FPS, FPS to RTS, back up to standard. So you can toggle through those fairly quickly and you'll just notice subtle changes to how the picture is going to be displayed depending on which particular mode you want to choose. A lot of this could literally be a case-by-case basis. What game you're playing? Are you watching a movie or a TV show? Or even just what looks best to you in that particular moment for whatever content you're consuming or even creating. I prefer to usually leave my Sceptre monitors just in the standard mode. Now you're looking at the UFO test. This test just is a nice way to see the different FPS values at our 165 Hertz refresh rate and why typically if you're going to be using this monitor for gaming, it's important to be able to push that FPS value to as close as you can to your refresh rate, as you're seeing right here with how smooth 165 FPS looks at 165 Hertz. This is why if you can buy a monitor and you have a system that can match it in regards to performance, you'll appreciate having that higher refresh rate. So typically bare bones 60 or 75 Hertz, then it goes up to 120 or 144 Hertz, 165 Hertz, 240 Hertz, and beyond. But basically the gameplay, the movement, the motion, the UFO will be smoother going across the display, as you see as we double the FPS values every time here. It looks sputtery and shaky down at the bottom, looks better at 83, but it looks substantially better, more in focus, and again, just buttery smooth up at the top at 165 FPS, moving right along at 165 Hertz. Now we have another UFO test pulled up on the display here. This one's going to help us with ghosting, where we can line up a pursuit camera and see what we're dealing with. In this case, visually, I can just tell there's ghosting looking across all three lines there. Our UFO, it's got a nice tail coming across the backside, a lot of smearing there in that movement in motion. So keep in mind, this is very typical and common with 34-inch ultra-wide monitors. I've never reviewed one that doesn't have ghosting, so I'm not sure if it's just this particular 21:9 aspect ratio, what it is about these panels. Maybe it's the same manufacturer on the back end. I really don't know, but seems to be across the board. Different brands give a very similar ghosting experience with their monitors' performance, but it is noticeable. Not sure if you'll be able to see it looking at a camera on the display, but if your eyes were here in person, you'd be able to see it on this monitor. So just keep in mind, it tends to be fairly common within this product category. So just weigh that in your decision making, especially if you're really sensitive to that or it really bothers you while you're gaming. So this is a VA panel, and I wanted to check for any backlight bleeding just to get a feel for the build quality of this particular monitor. Now, no surprise here, but with any ultra-wide monitor like this that's curved, you usually start to see some bleeding in the corners that I'm pointing out right here where it starts to fold and bend out. And that's true in this particular corner on our panel, just that corner, we have a little bit of bleeding coming down and in, but you'll only notice it, if you even notice it, in a pitch black room looking at a pitch black screen. It's really not bad at all. I hate even mentioning that because most monitors will have it to some extent somewhere or maybe even everywhere, but usually it would take, you know, a pretty major defect or something in manufacturing to make that unbearable or to actually like show up in your image quality or things like that. So nothing to be concerned about. I don't think I've ever seen an ultra-wide panel that didn't have any backlight bleeding somewhere along the edges, particularly when they're curved, where I pointed out. Now let's talk about color accuracy and representation with this particular panel. So I want to point out that we use DisplayCal to get these findings, and that's just what they are, my findings. We don't have access to any sort of factory calibration tools and equipment like that, so just take it for what it is. We use DisplayCal and our data color Spider X for this test. I also want to point out Sceptre advertises 99% sRGB. Not sure if that's for coverage or volume, but don't worry, we tested both out right here. You'll see for sRGB coverage, we got 89.5%, and sRGB volume, we got 94.9%. So both fell short of their advertised result. Next, in regards to Adobe RGB, 64.9% coverage and 65.4% for our volume. That's definitely low there. DCI P3 also low as well, 67.2% coverage and 67.2% for our volume there. Don't worry, I haven't forgot about your Delta E values either. So Delta E 2000, you're seeing right here, our average value of 0.45. So well within the result, we're less than the nominal value of 1.5, and our maximum Delta E value 1.65, less than 4, so that's good. And then Delta E 76 value, same thing, you'll see our average here 0.65, less than 3, and our maximum of 2.11 is less than 6. So we've done a lot of technical tests, but now it's time to just do our simple web browsing test. So you'll see right here we have YouTube pulled up. Just take a look. This is the trending page. We can browse top and trending videos. Everything's very clear, crisp, and super responsive. Now, take note that you're watching this with the camera pointed at the display. It's not going to look very clear or very focused as it should, but trending page on YouTube, everything looks great. Got movie trailers, things like that. Loading up, but again, pay attention. Very responsive there. Next, we have The Verge, pulled up a popular tech blog. This is great to see ads, embedded videos, tweets, things like that, right? Look at all the images, graphics, GIFs. Let's go ahead, let's open up an article. Look at the different headers, fonts. You get the idea there. Clear, crisp. All the different colors, everything looks really nice. And then lastly, got to pull up Amazon in case you want to do some shopping with your computer monitor. Looking good. All the images, product pages, and listings. Really nice. Now we're testing out the built-in speakers. Spoiler alert, we have it on full volume, and I didn't notice any meaningful gain when we jumped up from 50 to 100. So take that for what it is. I'd say the best way to describe the sound is flat, but very typical to built-in speaker quality. So I always say I'd rather have them and not need them than need them and not have them, but it's really up to you. Most likely you're going to want to get your own external speaker set up or use your headphones, things like that. But again, I like having them for those random occasions where you just need some quick audio. But give it a listen for a couple more seconds here. This monitor does have built-in RGB lights on the back. We have a couple different options here that we can pick and choose from. We have our static color strip. Now you see we have our breath. So it's going to cycle between the different colors. We have our marquee in. That looks pretty cool. It's fun that we have lighting effects, not just a static light. And marquee out. You also have the option to turn the lights off. And then you'll see we have some color options. The spectrum's going to be all the colors. And then we can pick and choose each individual color as well. And back to our spectrum. So it's nice that it's not just limited in their functionality. We can change a couple different light modes and obviously pick and choose a couple different colors. You have 6 different colors to choose from. Now we got the red box out so we can measure the input lag on this monitor. Now keep in mind, input lag is different from response time. This has an advertised 1 millisecond response time. Input lag is basically the amount of time it takes for the monitor to display a received signal. So that's what we're measuring, that lag and delay right there. Up at the top, you're seeing we're getting around 1.2, 1.3 milliseconds right here for our input lag. The middle value will increase, should be in the 8 millisecond range. So 8.6, 8.7, and then the very bottom should be the 16 range. So look at that, 1.3 to 16 milliseconds. Typically, if we're going off that top value, this is about as fast as they get. Sometimes you'll see them a little bit under 1, but not too much. Now I'll be showing you what it's like to game on this monitor. We'll be looking at a couple of games ranging from Forza 5 to Assassin's Creed as well as Borderlands. So let's go ahead, no need to talk about it, let's watch. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you console gamers out there. First, we have a PlayStation 5 connected, and I wanted to show you our 1440p options for this display. This is what it's telling us that we're able to get 1440p at 60 hertz. So let's go up, let's look at our output information. There you go, what you see is what you get. If you're not seeing that, go ahead, select test 1440p output and you'll see similar results. Make sure too, you have 120 hertz output selected, but I don't think it's going to be able to display 120 hertz for you, but you might as well have it on anyways, especially in the future if your game does support it and for some reason that would work. But for this monitor, what you can expect, 1440p at 60 hertz. Now don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you Xbox people. Now we have the Xbox Series X connected, and for some reason we're capped at 1080p and 120 hertz. So we are able to get that higher refresh rate, but we do not have a 1440p option. And yes, I have checked our video modes. I've toggled on or off HDR. We've tried a couple of those different settings, but nothing is allowing us to get 1440p. So assume at a minimum, you can game with your Xbox Series X at 1080p. Maybe you're one of the lucky ones system update, whatever it may be. Maybe you're lucky and you get 1440p. So now let me share with you my final thoughts when it comes to this particular Sceptre monitor. Here's really what I want to say. You should use this monitor as a baseline of features and performance of what you can expect for a 34-inch ultra-wide monitor out there. This has one of the most competitive prices available to date. So I'm very pleased with what we're paying for and what we're getting. 1440p is going to be bare bone essentials if you're going with a monitor at this length or anything beyond. Built-in speakers are nice. Yes, I know they're hollow, but I'd rather have them and not need them than need them and not have them. It does come with the stand, but I really don't like the stand. That's one of the big cons for me is the stand. But again, maybe for you it's good enough. Maybe you already have your own stand, so you're not even going to use it anyways. But it is something to keep in mind. It will come with the VESA mount bracket, but it's just, you know, very bare bones for what it is right out of the box, especially compared to some other competitors and their stands, whether it's Corey, whether it's going to be Asus and their tough gaming lineup. Typically, there's going to be some better default stands that come with other 34-inch monitors. In regards to the ghosting, that could be a deal breaker for you. Only you can decide that in regards to what you enjoy, or I should say, can tolerate while you're gaming. And in regards to colors, chances are you won't be using this to do any sort of professional color grading, whether that's for photos or videos. But for gaming, for web browsing, streaming, creating content, doing spreadsheets, whatever it may be, coding, you get the idea there. It's a really enjoyable monitor, but it's very affordable. So at that price point, it's the classic case of you get what you pay for.